Kotlin Serialization. Serialization is the process of converting objects to a format like JSON. Deserialization is the reverse, converting JSON back to objects. Kotlin Serialization is the official library that works at compile time, understands Kotlin types, and supports multi-platform. Let's learn how to use it. To set up Kotlin Serialization, add the Serialization plugin and the JSON dependency to your build.gradle.kts. The plugin version must match your Kotlin version. The library generates serializers at compile time, so there is no reflection overhead at runtime. This makes it fast and safe. Mark a class with the serializable annotation. The compiler generates a serializer automatically. To convert an object to JSON, call JSON.encode to string. To convert JSON back to an object, call JSON.decode from string with the target type. Encoding and decoding should always give you back the same object. Properties with default values are optional during deserialization. If the JSON field is missing, the default value is used. This is very useful for backward compatibility. When you add new fields to your class, old JSON data still works because the new fields use their defaults. The transient annotation marks a field that should never be serialized. Transient fields must have a default value. Use it for sensitive data like passwords and tokens, computed properties, or internal state that should not leave the application. The field is completely excluded from JSON output. Serial name changes the field name used in JSON. This is useful when the API uses snake_case, but your Kotlin code uses camel case. The Kotlin property is called name, but in JSON it becomes product_name. You keep clean Kotlin naming while matching the API format exactly. Nested serializable objects are handled automatically. If a customer has an address field and a list of orders, the entire object tree is serialized recursively. Lists, sets, and maps are also serialized automatically. You just need to make sure every class in the tree has the serializable annotation. Enums are serialized by their name by default. Use serial name to customize the JSON value. For example, priority.high becomes the string high in JSON. This is useful when the API expects lowercase values or different naming conventions than your Kotlin enum constants. You can create custom JSON instances with different settings. PrettyPrint formats the output with indentation. Ignore unknown keys skips fields not in your class. Coerce input values uses defaults for invalid values. Encode defaults includes fields with default values in the output. Create one instance and reuse it everywhere. Ignore unknown keys is the most important setting for working with APIs. APIs often return fields your class does not have. Without this setting, an unknown field throws an exception and crashes your app. With ignore unknown keys set to true, unknown fields are silently skipped during parsing. Let's compare Kotlin Serialization with JSON and Moshi. Kotlin Serialization has compile time safety, native Kotlin support, respects null safety and default values, and works with Kotlin multi-platform. JSON ignores Kotlin types and default values. Moshi has good Kotlin support, but is JVM only. Polymorphic serialization handles inheritance using sealed classes. Add serializable to the sealed base class and each subclass. Each subclass gets a serial name annotation. When encoding, a type discriminator field is added to the JSON. When decoding, the library reads the type field to create the correct class. Here is a shape-sealed class with circle and rectangle subclasses. When you encode a circle, the JSON includes a type field with value circle plus the radius. When decoding, the library sees type is circle and creates a circle object. This works with lists of mixed shapes too. The JSON Element API lets you work with raw JSON without defining classes. Parse a JSON string with parse_to_JSON element. Then access fields through JSON object, JSON primitive, and content properties. This is useful when the JSON structure is unknown, dynamic, or when you only need a few fields from a large response. You can also build JSON programmatically using build.json object and build.json array. Call put to add fields and put.json array to add nested arrays. This is useful when you need to construct JSON dynamically instead of serializing a class. The result is a JSON element you can convert to a string. A common pattern for REST APIs is a generic API response class with success, data, and error fields. The data field uses a generic type parameter, so the same response wrapper works for any content type. Success responses have data, error responses have an error message. Clean and reusable. When working with APIs, use separate classes for requests, responses, and internal models. The create user request has only the fields the API sends. The user response has what the API returns. The user entity has internal fields like password hash. Conversion functions map between them safely. Common mistakes include forgetting the serializable annotation, which causes compile errors. Not using ignore unknown keys crashes your app when the API adds new fields. Serializing sensitive data like passwords without using transient exposes them in JSON. Always use transient for sensitive fields. Let's summarize. Serializable marks a class for serialization. Encode to string converts objects to JSON. Decode from string converts JSON to objects. Transient excludes sensitive fields. Serial name customizes JSON field names. Ignore unknown keys handles API changes gracefully. Polymorphic serialization handles sealed class hierarchies. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more tutorials.